Welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast, the horror movie podcast that boils and ghouls and dead alike are screaming for. Don't be afraid to listen as Rick and the Creeps bore their way into your brains, slither down onto your arteries, into your still beating hearts.
Hi, welcome to the Ear for Fear podcast. This is the podcast that talks about scary movies or movies trying to be scary. Got Morris in the house, one of the creeps.
What up?
One of the creepiest motherfuckers I know.
How's it going, man?
Welcome back, man.
Yeah.
Today, you and I are going to be talking about 1987's Creepshow 2. I think, I don't remember who recommended this. Maybe you did. I did. I don't remember.
I think it's, we were going to do a episode on this a few years ago.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right. Because, which we've talked about before, when you came out to do Creepshow, the idea was you came out, we were going to do Creepshow 1 in an episode and then Creepshow 2 in an episode. And that was the little bit of a hiccup that we had where we thought we were recording Creepshow.
Yeah.
And that was really a good episode because I remember you and I having some good shit to say. And then when it was all said and done, it never recorded. No. And then after that, we decided not to do part 2 because we were kind of both bummed.
Yeah, we were bummed. And we just abandoned ship, and I think we did a different episode.
I don't remember. Yeah. But shit happens, man. You know, that was a long time ago, and we've learned from our errors, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I think, Darren and I we ended up down the road doing a Creepshow episode.
Yeah.
But you and I are going to be doing part 2. And it's funny because Darren, I don't know if he had ever seen Creepshow 2, and then we were talking about it, and I told him to go watch it, and he didn't care for it.
Yeah.
And I think he's crazy.
I think so too.
I actually, dude, I really enjoy Creepshow 2 a lot.
It's charming. I did see this in the theater the first week it came out back in 87, so I remember it quite fondly from that first time.
I saw it I was living in Reno at the time that this came out. And I went to the theater. And it was like this it was similar to, remember the Cinedomes that we had here? Mm-hmm. Okay. In Reno, there was similar movie theaters that were owned by the same company, which was Syufy. And I know that because I worked for them.
Right.
And they called it Century, which down here they called one of them Century as well, Century Theaters. But the one up there was similar. It was those big domes.
Right.
Because we had them here at the Cinedomes, and then we had them in the Arden area, and I think that might have been Century. But I don't think I was working there at the time, but I had went there to see Creepshow 2. Yeah. And then not long after, I got a job there.
Yeah, those domes are pretty popular with, even with the Bay Area. I remember Concord had domes too. And they were similar. I think it was the same company.
I think so. I think that was their thing. Is like they did domes. I don't know. And I guess it's kind of cool looking. And now not so much.
Right.
All the theaters nowadays are kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like I know they have more bells and whistles inside, but they're still kind of they're not as cool as they used to be.
I saw this in an old school theater. It's this called the Senator in Chico. And so it's kind of like that Tower Theater that we looked at the last weekend. Yeah. I love those old theaters. I guess do we want to go into it? I guess I'll do a quick synopsis. If no one has seen Creepshow 2, it's basically there's 3 stories. One includes a vengeful wooden Native American statue. The other one's a monstrous blob in a lake, and the hitchhiker who wants revenge and will not die. That's kind of the gist. 3 stories: Old Chief Woodenhead, the raft, and the hitchhiker. Before I forget, there's going to be full spoilers.
1, 2, spoilers coming for you.
So if you haven't seen this movie and you intend on seeing it, maybe watch them first or watch the movie first. And then come back and
check it out.
Yeah.
The stories are, I think there's 3 writers, 2 of them Stephen King, George Romero, for this one, and they were also writers on the first film. well, right?
Oh yeah,
I think
absolutely. Well, they're all Stephen King stories. They just I want to say The Raft was in his short story book, The Night Shift, and then the other two, Chief Woodenhead and The Hitchhiker, were original stories that he wrote.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where he comes up with this stuff. The dude has so many good stories,
right?
And you know, it's I feel like I feel like there's a couple like H.P. Lovecraft people take the stories and make them into movies, or the Cabin of Curiosities, which I know you haven't watched yet. Mm-hmm. There's at least 2 or 3. I think there's 8 episodes, and at least 2 or 3 of the episodes are based off of H.P. Lovecraft stories.
That's funny that you say that, because The Raft is inspired by H.P. Lovecraft.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and if you notice, a lot of King's stories, like It, are based off of Lovecraft, because King had a love for that, the old gods, the ancient ones kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intergalactic kind of thing going on too, and with the Raft, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah,
but,
I noticed with and I could be way off on this, and I've never sat down and read H.P. Lovecraft stories, but I feel like he has this underlining sexual thing that goes on in all his stories somehow, some way. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you don't see it like on the surface, it's real, like it's shoved underneath there, and it's always there. I've noticed that with some of the movies that are like, say, a Reanimator, or like, I think we just recently did like From Beyond, which I think is based off an H.P. Lovecraft story. And so it's like it may not be like way in your face, but it's there. You just have to look for it. But anyways, so this, the thing is with this, I think part 1 had 5 stories.
Yeah.
And this one has 3. Now, I feel like the stories are a little longer on these than the initial Creepshow.
Well, this was intended to have 5 stories as well.
I think you had mentioned that.
Yeah.
What were the other 2? Do you know?
The other 2 was, the cat. I'm trying to remember.
Oh, is that the one from the
Tales from the Dark Side?
Yeah.
So that's a King story, and it was for budgetary constraints, because obviously this wasn't distributed by Warner Brothers like the first movie. This one got, what was it, New World did the distribution and the production on it. So New World, I think, was a offshoot of Roger Corman.
Oh, okay.
So one of his companies that he had.
Yeah.
So, obviously, Roger Corman's known for, his low budget kind of stuff. But I want to say it was a different production company that had Corman's company do the distribution on it. So, they didn't have the money that they wanted. They originally had like a larger budget, and then obviously didn't work out that way. They had to cut some of the stories, and they didn't end up filming those or casting for those. But the cat was one, and then there was another one where these ghosts are in this abandoned, or this bowling alley at night, and these 2 rival ghost teams are playing a bowling tournament against each other.
Okay.
Which was supposed to be a little bit more comical. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm interested to see how that would have turned out. But then again, they wouldn't be like straight up horror.
Yeah.
And I would have to say with Creepshow 2, where Creepshow 1 was more tongue in cheek, and it played a lot like those EC comics from the 50s.
Yeah.
This one plays their stories a little bit more seriously.
Yes.
They're not quite as tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
And they're a little bit more mean spirited, where even though the end results of some of the stuff that happened in Creepshow 1, but there's this more like a goofy tongue in cheek kind of flavor to it.
Yeah.
This one plays a little bit more on the serious level. Still fun.
For sure.
I had a great time with this. I want to say this is the second time that I've seen it within the last 2 months. So I revisit it at least once a year.
So it's funny because I ended up buying this I own a copy of it, but then I ended up buying like a digital copy.
Right.
And then I think at least 3 or 4 times over the last 2 months have probably watched this. It could be just something where it's in the background while I'm doing something.
Right.
But I've seen it so many times that I don't like have to watch it to know what's going on. But yeah, like yesterday I had it on, and then not that long ago I had it on. I think with me, a lot of sequels, I know this isn't your normal type sequel, because
Right.
again, they're individual stories, but usually sequels seem to fall flat for me. And if I'm calling this a sequel, which again, it's part 2, this one absolutely, I felt was, I'm not going to say was as good as 1, but I don't try to compare the 2 because I think they're very different.
They are.
But this one works on so many levels for me. I think the stories are great. I think the animation, which I think some people may find a little cheap, but I think that was the intent.
Right.
And it works for me as well with the music. The music does. The only thing I will say, the music, I know this is 87, but the music doesn't feel 87 to me. The music almost feels early 80s to me.
Yeah.
I would almost could argue early or late 70s. But
You know why?
Please tell me. Yeah.
Rick Wakeman, who is the guitarist of Yes, did the or is he the guitarist of Yes? Or I know he plays keyboards as well. He did the music to this.
Oh, he did.
As well as The Burning, So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
so-
didn't know he did the music for The Burning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Rick Wakeman did the music for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably why it has, because it works for me. Like I
Right.
love the music. It works for the movie, but it feels a little older than 87.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and then the creep being Tom Savini, I think someone else was supposed to play the creep, and then I think they backed out, and then Tom Savini came in, and I'm gonna
it was
guess
supposed to be Nicolas Cage.
it was.
It was supposed to be Nicolas Cage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But it's not Tom Savini's voice.
No,
It's a voice actor that's been in a lot of different stuff. For the life of me, I can't think of his name right now, but he was in Assault on Precinct 13. He was like an older guy in that.
Oh, interesting.
But he has that kind of deep, Tony the Tiger type
it
of
worked.
voice.
It worked for me.
Yeah.
It worked for me. Like,
Yeah.
because if you don't have the right voice,
Right.
when you see the creep and it's not animated, it looks kind of hokey.
It does.
It does. It looks a little hokey. Then you add the voice and like, okay, it kind of pulls it in.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have the right voice, if you use Tom Savini's voice,
And he did, he was speaking
Sure,
stuff, but
but
it was dubbed.
it was
you know?
dubbed over. Yeah. Because what we see at the beginning of the movie, is a boy, and it looks like it's early in the morning, and he's going to like
A newsstand.
to get the new issue of is it Creepshow or what is it?
It's Creepshow.
Creepshow, and so then the Tom Savini as the creep is he's whatever he's saying. I can't remember some of the
And he's
lines
delivering.
he's
He's like in a a paper delivery truck.
saying.
And
Which
he's-
we won't see ever again in our
No.
lifetime. But so he throws. I think he throws it or something, and it hits the ground, and then I think the animation, does it turn into the animation at that point?
At that point,
I think
it does.
so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it leads us to the first story, which is Old Chief Woodenhead. Every one of these stories is really good, dude. I'll have to say that right off the bat. I guess if I had to like rate them, and like I know I'm rating them before we're really talking about them, but I would almost say the sequence in which they are in the film is probably how I like them. Like I love Old Chief Woodenhead. The Raft would probably be second, and the Hitchhiker would be third.
Yeah.
Is that
in the order that they are? That's how I feel about them too.
And that typically doesn't happen for me.
I used to love the Raft the most.
That one's great too.
Yeah. But not anymore. It's kind of in the order that they come.
Yeah, but Old Chief, and we don't need to. I don't want us to go through every single bit of each story. We can talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, maybe what we noticed. But the gist of Old Chief Woodenhead is Martha and Ray Spruce own a little ma and pa store in this
A little general store.
in a town that was supposed to was supposed to be like a booming town, and then it just ended up being a ghost town, essentially.
Because everybody moved away.
Moved away. You know, I sometimes with these, I chalk it up to maybe a freeway was supposed to come through, and perhaps it was rerouted to another area, and they were banking on the fact that this freeway was supposed to, you know, come through their town or near their town, and it was going to make the town blow up, and it just didn't.
It just didn't happen.
And that's what this feels like. It almost feels like
Psycho.
Like Psycho, yeah.
Yeah, because the Psycho, Bates Motel was it was a prominent, motel, but since they took the freeway, and they built the freeway, that nobody comes by that way anymore.
It also reminds me of, this is stupid, but the movie Cars, remember their little town was supposed to, and then it just became like this kind of ghost town as well, because and so I mean, you can tell Martha and Ray have been there for a long time. At one point, the town did flourish, right, a little bit, and it was enough to they made money. They put their girls through probably college, but now at their age, I don't know. I would say they're probably in their 70s.
Yeah,
the town is, dude. There's not many stores left. There's not much of anything in this town.
No,
and
it's like dusty and dirty
and
desolate.
Man.
There's just nothing going on there.
And the townsfolk are still almost relying on Martha and Ray,
their little
store for I don't know, for things that they need, whatever that might be, and they're in debt to them.
Yeah. And
I always forget the chief's. What is the guy? He's kind of like I forgot the character's name.
Gosh, what is?
I forgot. He's kind of almost like the, I don't know, the mayor or something of this little town.
Or he's the chief.
He's kind of like a chief of the tribe. Yeah. Because and it doesn't say this is on a reservation, but we get the idea that it might like
Benjamin White Moon.
There it is, Benjamin White Moon.
Yeah,
we kind of get the impression that it is on a reservation, but it don't say it's on a reservation, and maybe it's on the outskirts of a reservation, and the town is really kind of, or the store is really only their source of obtaining anything at this point,
right?
And they've had to borrow or to take these items based off of credit,
right?
And most of the townsfolk owe Ray and Martha a lot of money
per the credit.
And Benjamin feels bad. And the idea is, hey, what we've done is we've accumulated what these particular families consider valuable.
Yeah, they're like
you and
riches.
Maybe you and I would look at it and we don't think it's valuable, but it's been passed down in their family. It could be some sort of heirloom or just something that they hold dear to their heart, and to them it's priceless.
Yeah, it's like a lot of silver and jade and turquoise, and, look like there's some gold in there, you know. So very, like valuable, like jewels and things that, were there.
Yeah. And the idea here is Benjamin offers it to Ray and Martha that, look, we feel bad that we've done this to you for however long. We can't pay you because there's just no money. So we're giving this to you for you to hold, and then within two autumns. Is it 2 autumns?
2 autumns. Yeah.
If 2 autumns we haven't paid back our debt, this is yours to keep. And of course, Ray and Martha don't. They feel.
Yeah, he's like, I can't accept this. This is prized possessions of your people. I can't take this. And Benjamin's like, no, Ray Spruce. And I love this line too. Yeah. We're borrowers, by you having this, but if you give it back to us, then you make us beggars, and that's an insult.
Yeah, and I love that line too. Yeah, and it's true, man. It's very true, and so so against even though he's against it, they ended up keeping.
And he said, "I'll guard it with my life."
Yeah,
which he does.
Which he does. And Benjamin leaves, and then Ray is. We see Ray outside, and he's painting Old Chief Woodenhead. He's giving him kind of a fresh a fresh coat of paint, right?
Yeah, war paint.
A war paint.
Yeah.
And we get the impression that old Chief Woodenhead has been probably a staple in the front of their store for probably as long as they've been in this town.
Oh yeah.
And so
you know, see those old wooden Indians like that. Those were very popular in like the early 1900s, especially. Yeah. And they were chiseled, and usually you see them in front of like general stores or cigar shops. That's another place.
I have seen them. I don't see them that often anymore. No. But when occasionally, if I do see them, and they're in front of maybe an old tavern of some sorts, or a even, bar or something,
or even like an old part of a town, like old Placerville, old Auburn.
Like you go to a downtown of some old town that's been established for, let's say, 100+ years. You would see that,
and they have the wooden sidewalks. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Like Old Sack would be one of those.
Right.
Yeah. And so they come back inside and they have some visitors here. They got.
I always thought this was kind of funny. So they're outside. You could tell the sun's going down, but as soon as they step in, you see their windows. It's totally black outside. It's like, did you ever notice that?
No, I don't think I ever noticed it.
So, yeah, they're outside. The sun's going down, but there's still daylight, Yeah. And they're like, prosperity's in the air. I can feel it, Mm-hmm. And they turn around. They walk back into their shop door, and the door closes behind them. You see the windows.
It's all dark.
The shop door has, glass through it. And it's all dark.
It's all dark. So it's just one of those continuity errors.
It is.
Yeah.
Kind of like we talked about with Halloween when they're driving, and then when they get to which is just a few blocks away, it's already
all
dark.
Dark. Yeah. So inside the store is now Sam White Moon, which he's what is he?
He's the nephew of Benjamin.
He's the nephew?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not like a grandson, he's a nephew. Yeah. Okay. And then Fatso, which really that is his character's name. I didn't realize he is the son of Hal Holbrook, which was in the first Creepshow, David Holbrook. Yeah. And then the other guy, what does he call him? Rich Boy? But I think his name is maybe like Andy something another. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Rich Boy and Fatso. This is the thing. It's like they've attached their wagon,
Right.
I'm not trying to this is no sort of pun because of what we're talking, but they attached their wagon to the Sam White Moon. But he disrespects them. He can't even call them by their damn name.
Right. He's basically like the classic. They're written like classic Stephen King bullies. So there's always a major bully.
Yeah.
And he disrespects the rest of the gang, but they're always bullied into following him.
Yeah.
Just like it.
Stand by Me would be
Stand
one.
by Me. Yeah, they're always bullied by the main bully. And the main bully, when it boils down to, and Stephen King always writes this, is the main bully is nobody to fucking follow because he's usually a loser himself. But he projects that he's better and more badass.
More confident and whatever, but he's not.
But he's not. He's usually, a coward.
Yeah, and Sam White Moon is kind of the epitome. He thinks he is. He thinks he's the next big thing, right?
Yeah, he's like, look at these good looks. Look at this hair.
His hair.
He's like, it took me 9 years to grow this hair, and he's whipping it around. And then they have like a little photo booth thing, like you'd see at a fair, and he takes his pictures in there, and then he's like, look at this. Have you ever seen such a gorgeous face? And old lady's like, just get the fuck out of here,
I know, too. But his idea is they're gonna head to Hollywood, and he's gonna become a big movie star.
He's gonna make it big,
and he's and
he's kind of hitching, like you said. Well, they're hitching on him being their like leader, but he's hitching on Rich Boy because he's got a Trans Am.
He's got the Trans,
and he's got some money to start off with, and Ray Spruce and Martha Spruce, they don't have any money because they don't have any stuff coming in. And he's going through the cash register, and he's like, this is all you got? Empty your pockets. And he might have pulled out, it looked like maybe a couple rolled up $5 bills, but it's like,
oh, there was nothing.
He didn't have any money. So it's like, they decided to leave, but he knew that his uncle was going to be there with, and I can't remember what he said. It was like $10,000 or $20,000.
I think it was $10,000. And he calls it something. What does he call it? Like something?
Rock candy.
Rock candy.
Yeah.
and so his thought is, well, whatever the townsfolk and my relatives have given you, I'm stealing from them. Yeah.
Oh, I remember it's so the treasure that the collective tribe has, it's called the Elinye. Elinye, I think.
What does that pronounce? I wonder what it pronounces to.
I don't know what tribe that is, but
because they never really talk about the tribe itself, like what
they don't. But I know that all three stories were shot in Arizona, so maybe it's an Arizona tribe.
I think I want to say Navajo is a big in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I only know that because Donovan is part Navajo.
Yeah.
And I remember that their tribe was, I think, in Arizona.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
So they get the Sam takes this, we'll just call it these riches, and in the process shoots.
Oh wait, so who was it? Was it Fatso or was it Rich Boy that was trying to grab the riches from Ray? There was
that was Fatso, because I think Rich Boy had Rich Boy.
He went to go get.
He went to get the car. Yeah, get your car, Rich Boy. So don't you leave on.
He's struggling with Ray, and Ray's an old man, and and of course George Kennedy, who plays Ray.
Yeah, great actor, by the way.
Great actor. Yeah. He's really playing it up the old, because he's playing up older than he actually was, Yeah, because I want to say he was in his 60s when this was made.
Oh, okay.
And it looks like he's supposed to be in his 70s.
Definitely.
And more feeble.
Yeah.
But he's and Martha's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And it looks like Sam has the shotgun against her side, and he accidentally fires it off. He didn't intend on firing it off, but he kills her. And then Ray is that's his beloved.
Oh, that's his wife.
That's his wife.
Of probably 50 years or something.
And he's walking towards him, and then he shoots Ray because he doesn't want to deal with
this. This is the thing that and this is again what you were talking about, how Stephen King writes these bullies. If it was an accident, maybe he'd feel some sort of remorse, but felt nothing at all.
No,
Morris,
he didn't.
there was no remorse. He just didn't care. It was just
they were garbage.
Garbage. It was just whatever. It happened. I'm over it.
Well, the funny thing is, Fatso being a jerk, as soon as it happens, he's throwing up, and he's sickened by it. He's and then I think Sam's don't squirrel out on me, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
Which kind of solidifies their fate.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Even though the other two didn't pull the trigger, it's since they're with him.
Yeah. Guilty by association.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, but they were. I mean, they obviously they didn't pull the trigger, but they were still responsible for what happened to Sam and Martha.
Right.
And so they leave. The idea is, hey, let's get your crap together. We're gonna bounce tonight. We're gonna head to Hollywood. And so then we head over to Fatso's. What is this? This crappy,
shitty
mobile
dude.
I don't even know. I mean, this tiny little mobile home.
Yeah, Lisa and I were watching it last night, and she's like, "Oh my god, that place is disgusting."
Dude, this is terrible.
So the funny thing is, if you notice what's playing on TV, it's an episode of an old TV show called The Cisco Kid.
Yes.
So there's characters in the TV show are Cisco Kid and Poncho, and so and then they were Loco,
Yeah.
And so Fatso's fixing himself something to eat, and he's fat drunk thing, and he's popping a beer and spilling it all over. He's a
slob, dude.
The classic,
the epitome of a slob.
Stains on the shirt. Doesn't look like he's maybe showered in a while.
Yeah,
really gross. And it's Hal Holbrook's son kind of plays that up pretty good.
He does a great job of it.
Yeah,
great job of it. And then gets in. What does he get the arrow through the head or the neck? It's the neck, right?
So no, he gets one through the chest first, and then one through the neck, and then the final one isn't through the head.
Oh,
so they're just flying through his trailer,
his cheap home.
Yeah, and they just
his cheap portable home.
Seems like they come through the actual trailer itself. So it whatever magic.
Well, I guess we should probably specify. Old Chief Woodenhead of course, knows that Martha and Ray have died, and so
And he was kind of their protector.
He comes alive, puts on a fresh coat of paint, and goes after them, and that's what we're seeing here. And then he goes to Rich Boy's house, destroys his Trans Am. He comes out. And then, we don't see it, but we see like this silhouette of old Chief Woodenhead. What is it, like a tomahawk?
Yeah, he's like chopping him, and there's blood splashing on.
And does the dad comes out, right? Because the dad comes out because he hears all the noise and sees sees Rich, the kid, his boy on the car,
and he's just massacred on top of his car, his smashed car. But funny, the mom and dad were watching the same episode.
Yeah.
So then we cut to Sam's house, which it's just like a normal house, and he's watching the same thing on his TV.
Yeah.
So it's like a little.
I love how they tie it all together.
They did, but he he hears something and he grabs a shotgun and Chief Woodenhead's right there and he's like, "You can't be. How are you real?" And the cool thing is, of course, it's a guy in a suit, but he
still looks great.
It looks great for the effects. Oh, I do know that there was a famous guy that did effects back in the early 80s that did effects for this. He got in kind of an argument with the director, Michael Gorick.
Okay.
And walked off set. And I guess Howard Berger and, the other guy, very famous, K&B, basically, did the effects for this movie. And Howard Berger, good Lord, for the life of me, I always forget this kind of stuff. It's like on the forefront of my mind, then, but Greg Nicotero.
Greg Nicotero. Okay.
Yeah, so Howard Berger and Greg Nicotero are part of K&B special effects house, and they were actually they finished the film. So they did Old Chief Woodenhead, and they did the
looks great.
The
like, I mean,
and,
you could see that it looks like it's someone, but it's done in a way that looks pretty real to me.
And the actor that was moving, it looked like he was moving like if wood came alive. It's still making
stiff,
making the noise,
like a stiff kind of movement to it.
And I have to admit that with this and the next story, I don't know if you noticed the sound design of this movie is like it's really, really good. So. I don't think it's Rick Wakeman that did the sound design, but the sound design of like the sounds.
Oh, sure.
And some of the little eerie things that come in. Just work so marvelously. But I have something to add when we talk about the last story.
Okay. But yeah, so he comes for. So this is what I love about it, because nowadays they would just CGI old Chief Woodenhead, and it just probably wouldn't look good.
No,
the way they the practical effect of this, like I think it works for me. I didn't feel like it was cheesy at all.
No.
It didn't feel like a person in some sort of rubber suit. It didn't at all. It felt believable to me.
Right.
And then he, old Chief Woodenhead scalps Sam. Scalps that beautiful long, those locks of his.
Yep. And so we cut to the next morning, and the uncle Benjamin, he wakes up and he sees that the Aligné is all wrapped up, on his bed. So he gets in his car and he drives out to the Spruce little general store. And he sees Chief Woodenhead there, and he's holding the scalp of his nephew. It's all bloodied and
Sam. Yeah.
And you just have that look on Benjamin's face. He knows what happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, old Chief Woodenhead." He's like, "Oh, okay, old warrior, you can rest now."
Yeah.
And then you could see that Chief Woodenhead's face, kind of moves a little bit.
Yeah. Almost like a nod without a nod.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you can kind of,
There's like a respect there.
Yes, exactly.
Like old ancient gods kind of respect,
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I like how that ended.
And I just think it's a great story. Just all around. Like I think the acting in it is phenomenal in this. I didn't realize, it's funny. I realized it a few months back when I was watching it again, but Sam is played by Holt. What is his name? McElhaney.
Oh,
Holt.
Oh God, what's his?
But
name?
he's in Mindhunter.
Oh, yeah.
He was in like Fight Club.
Dude, he's been in a ton of
Stuff, and I'm like, holy shit! Because if you see him now, he's older and he's a little. I'm not going to say
he's thicker,
yeah. Like And I was like, holy shit, that's.
Yeah.
But anyways,
what's funny that actor, I didn't realize it was him for years either, and then when I found out it was him, I'm like, oh shit, that's the guy that. There's certain actors you always wondered, why didn't they act in another movie with another actor that reminds you of them?
Yeah.
So my thought was, that Holt McAnally.
Yeah.
I always thought he should act in a movie with Michael Pare, and they should be brothers.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Because
they have does,
especially in the 80s.
Yeah.
In the early 90s, he was not as thick. And they kind of have a similar look.
They do. Now that you're saying it, yes,
just
absolutely.
like I always thought, like Tom Sizemore and Michael Madsen should be played brothers in a movie.
Yes, I could see that as well.
There's certain actors that could play in a movie with another actor that they could be brothers.
Oh, absolutely. You and I had this discussion once, and I remember this. We even bet on this, and I don't even know what I was thinking. But what's his name? Okay, from Demon Knight and Titanic.
Billy Zane.
Billy Zane, and then the guy from what was that movie? Lawnmower Man, and he was in
Jeff Fahey.
Jeff Fahey.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but to me, I always think they're the same. I know they're not the same person, but they have a similar look. Not like identical, but I could see them playing brothers in a movie. Like it'd be believable to me.
Right. Not that they remind me of each other, but I always thought it was cool in Planet Terror that Michael Biehn and Jeff Fahey played brothers.
Yes. Oh, I love Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
Anyway, so next story is the raft.
And the cool thing is they do have that animation transition.
They do
the comic book transition.
So the animated part is he's reading through his comic book and he comes across Venus flytraps, and he goes to the post office to get his package.
Right.
And then he comes out on his bike and there's these bullies.
You're right.
3 or 4 of them, I can't remember. Again, the bully thing, right?
Right.
The bully thing comes into play here. And something happens, and I think they go to grab the Venus flytrap, I think, and maybe they throw it on the ground, they step on it.
They step on it, yeah.
And then he kicks, I want to say he either kicks the one main bully in the balls or he kicks him on the foot. I can't remember which one it is.
I think it was the balls.
Was it the balls? Yeah. And so then they go after the kid. And then what happens is, we see that, and then it goes to the raft.
Right.
So it's kind of like it's put on hold, and we're going to get the rest of it later.
Right. It's the wraparound story.
Yeah. And so then we get the raft, and the idea here is, and dude, have you seen any of these other actors and things after this?
No.
Dude, I can't say that I've seen any of them in any other movie after this.
No, and I looked it up because they kind of look like they would be in horror movies of that era, and I did find funny that the guy Randy that was Poncho.
Poncho.
So this plays back
to the first
because he always called Deke Cisco. Hey Cisco.
Yeah.
Hey Poncho.
Yeah.
So it kind of played into like
ties
the first,
it together.
It all ties together. I heard that because I guess the water. When he goes, oh fuck, it's freezing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It really was freezing.
Oh, I read that too, where he got hypothermia,
and they had to take him to the hospital.
Yeah, dude, that's nuts.
Because his body turned blue.
It felt believable.
Right.
Like I'm like, damn, I know what he feels like coming out of water like that.
Right.
I'm like, and that's hard to really convey. And he did a damn good job. Well, that's because he was really that
freezing.
cold.
Yeah, and I can't imagine those girls getting into that water.
Fuck, dude.
But they did.
But they did. So you know who so Deke is kind of the jock guy, right?
Yeah.
And Randy's kind of the other dude with the curly hair. He always reminded me of and I can't think of his name offhand, but he was in Vamp. He was in My Bodyguard.
Chris Makepeace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Doesn't he kind of remind you of that?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit. And is it because of the curly hair, maybe?
It is, but he kind of reminds me of more of a ginger version of Chris Makepeace. Yeah.
And then so we got Deke, Randy, Laverne, and Rachel. Literally just 4. It's pretty cut and dry. 4 characters here. 2 guys. 2 guys, 2 women.
And you kind of, Rachel and Randy, I'm guessing they're a couple. They didn't kiss or anything.
I don't know,
but
maybe the idea is that they're hanging out to see.
Yeah, because
is it Laverne and Deke are a couple?
They seem like they're a couple.
Yeah, they seem like they're a couple. And the college students, I think they talk about I think Randy's pre-med or something like that.
So he has that comes into play because he has a little knowledge in trying to piece things together in his brain of what's going on in this situation. And of course they're smoking weed and passing it around,
smoking weed. Yeah,
but Rachel doesn't take any. She's like, because she seems like a good girl, straight laced.
She reminded me of
who?
Sissy Spacek, a little bit of Sissy Spacek and Carrie.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
She had a similar look.
She has a look.
And this kind of like quiet, timid, way about her.
Yeah.
And that's what she almost reminded me of, like, normally she wouldn't hang out with these 3.
Right.
And, but maybe they invited her along and she decided, let me go along with this.
Right.
That's not what it reminded me of. And, is it wintertime or is it fall?
So they said
it must be fall because he said
Halloween.
It's Halloween.
Yeah.
Okay.
He mentions that it's almost Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they swim out in this lake to this raft,
it's basically like a dock in the middle of the lake.
Which I've seen before. I've been on these things before.
Tied down by buoys, so it's just floating in the middle of the lake.
I don't think this is as common as it was when we were younger.
No.
I don't really. I can't. I'll be honest. I haven't been to a lot of lakes recently.
But I'll be honest with you. This is the thing. It's like, okay, they're making it a big deal to go out here.
Yeah, but why is it such a big deal?
And they even mention, this better be good, Poncho, because we're driving 50 miles out here. And I'm thinking, dude, there's better things you could do with these girls.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Is there just nothing else to do?
I mean, literally, they could have done anything, gone camping, if they wanted to be out.
True.
Somewhere where, maybe get a tent or, they don't have to go swimming. If they want to see the girls in bikinis, there's probably a different way of doing it. But why do you have to go out in freezing fucking water 50 miles away out where there's nobody around?
There's nothing.
And I get why there's nobody around. They don't want anybody to bug them. But, we have to mention that, when they're all getting out and jumping in the water, Deke leaves his fucking... I always thought about this.
Yeah.
Because at the time I had a similar Camaro. He just leaves the door open with the music playing with the keys in there.
The battery's going to go fucking dead.
It's going to go dead. It's like fucking...
What was the whole point of that? The thing was they wanted some tunes?
Yeah. I'm thinking that's what it was. But it's like they're going to swim out there and then they're going to, swim out there for a little bit and then swim back. But they were kind of caught there. So we'll...
They swim out. It's cold as hell. They swim out. Randy sees this
duck that's struggling
in this.
What do you think is an oil slick?
Yeah, it looks like they think it's some sort of oil slick. It doesn't look like an oil slick to me. To be honest, I've never seen an oil slick, but it wouldn't look like that.
No,
it looks like something that, and I think he even says like it looks like something that was done on purpose.
Right. It's not an accident. An oil slick's an accident.
It's an accident. And he goes, this is no accident. It's done on purpose. And it looks like it's just kind of, it's not perfectly round, but it's round enough.
Yeah.
And it just,
and it floats on the surface of the water.
Yeah.
And basically it's like if the blob was like a flat surface that just floated across the water, because what it does, it just absorbs this duck. It looks like the duck is fighting in the oil slick.
Yeah.
And that's what they first thought, but then the duck disappears.
Absorbent, not in the sense like if I was to put, say, lotion on my hands and it's kind of absorbs into my skin. Not so much that. It almost feels like it's eating it.
Like the blob.
Yeah, like the blob. But it's not as... the blob is more like this kind of... not really slimy,
it's
but
gelatinous.
This isn't like that. It's... No. I don't even know, dude. You know what it felt like to me, and I know, and I'm really just kind of this is off the cusp of my head. Is when you are making scrambled eggs,
right?
You know how the texture of scrambled eggs is.
Yeah.
Some of it is kind of more lower than others, and you got this kind of mountain of eggs, not like a huge mountain, but it's these different shapes. Like, that's what this felt like to me, was like if you were to make almost like an omelet, but the omelet, bubbles. Yes. And then you were to slide it out of a pan and put it on water, and then of course the color's different. That's what this reminded me of. I know it's kind of, explaining this sounds kind of weird, but so Randy sees it. He wants them to get onto this raft, this dock, because he sees what happened to this duck. And so then he's
like, hurry, run, like swim.
And this thing moves. It's moving towards them. And when they all get onto the raft, they're not, Deke thinks he's nuts, dude. Like, you smoke too much weed, man. He goes, and they're kind of laughing it off like it's no big deal. But Rachel doesn't really kind of, she's just kind of go along with it. But again, this is part of her timid nature. Her nature. So
then she's like staring at it.
Yeah.
So this is where it comes into play with Lovecraft.
Okay.
And with other Stephen King stories. This reminded me of like It. And Lovecraft wrote about this stuff a lot. So Lovecraft wrote about these ancient gods that were basically monsters. And these monsters take different forms. And there's different names for them. And I can't tell you which one this resembles the most like. But it's basically, Lovecraft would write about stuff that you can't describe it with words on how grotesque it is.
Yeah.
But these creatures would hypnotize you. They would make you do things that you normally wouldn't do.
Oh, okay.
And they would feed off of you.
Yeah.
So like It, you notice like It, it's like, don't stare into the deadlights. The deadlights will hypnotize you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what happened with, because it was kind of like an old god when you think about it. Would hypnotize, and it seems like it was hypnotizing Rachel. Oh, and she was like, she was mesmerized. She was hypnotized. She was like, and of course, King does it more eloquently in his writing on this short story. But, she's like, oh, la-di-da. She's like waving her hand across the water, like close to the water. And then
the thing, it attaches to her.
It attaches to her.
Grabs her.
And it starts melting. Dude. It's like absorbing and melting and burning her flesh.
Yeah, it
gross.
looks, it's a bit unsettling. Like,
that's
stuff like that with me. It's like, look, the effect is phenomenal. Like, it looks so fucking good.
Thanks to Can-B.
Yeah, dude, it looks good, man. But her struggling, like she's like, dude, like it's almost like eating away at her. It's somehow disintegrating her, and she's reaching out, like, help me. And this kind of slime is kind of, it's like attached to her, and it's like pulling her back.
It looks like algae.
And dude, it looks great, man. Like the effects on this one, like honestly, I would think out of the 3 stories, the effects on this blob thing is probably by far my favorite.
The best, yeah.
It really looks good, dude. And then it just kind of goes away, right? And she's gone, and they're freaked out.
So after it eats, it kind of drifts in between the shore and the raft. Yeah. So they're
not too far away,
but close enough.
Where it feels like it's processing her as a meal.
Right.
And it's kind of just chilling out for a little bit. Like, I'm okay right now.
Right.
This blob thing. And then they're like, what are we supposed to do? What are we going to do?
Right.
And then, Deke is like, well, I can swim. I'm the fastest of us. I can swim to shore, and I'll get us help.
Yeah, and they're like, no, don't do that. And then is it that he starts smoking weed again?
No, I don't know if he smokes weed again.
But it happens pretty quickly, right?
Pretty quickly.
So the creature goes underneath
the raft. I always say craft because of the first Creepshow. Yeah. Underneath the raft or the dock, and it attaches. It comes underneath the kind of cracks,
the boards.
Yeah, the boards, the cracks in the boards, and it grabs onto his leg,
and then it pulls his leg.
Dude, this is cool too, man. Yeah. Like this. I love this scene because it literally almost breaks him in half.
Yeah, well, he's like being grabbed through, and you can tell that it's absorbing him and burning his flesh too. But the
force of it, the force of this thing is pulling on him so hard that it almost like he breaks through the dock, but almost where it breaks him in half, dude.
Because it's the funny thing is in the short story, it absorbs him through the cracks of the raft. But this one, it seems like it does crack the raft, It cracks, and then of course where your legs split, one leg's being pulled, the other one's like not going through. So then it's kind of like reminds me of like Friday the 13th Part 6, where he just folds like a book, like opening up a book and then folding the pages back
for sure,
and at that point you just see in his face that he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, and then it's pulling him through, and then the only thing that's left is his ring, his class ring.
Right. That's a cool part too, because the way it's pulling him down, and you have these cracks in these boards, and dude, the ring just kind of and it just kind of sits there. It's a cool little scene, man.
Right.
And then it just leaves Laverne and Randy, and they're not sure what to do, man. It's cold. They're freezing, right? It was already cold to begin with, and now they're literally in a bathing suit and I guess he's in shorts,
right?
And it's getting dark, and this thing is just there.
Right.
It's not going anywhere. And so they're each kind of taking turns on a lookout just to make sure that nothing happens. And then he wakes up, and she's asleep. Dude, dude, I never.
So this
part makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's in King's short story where they actually do have sex.
Oh, they do.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
It's been like 30 years. So in the book, she's, even though their two friends have died, and this thing is more than likely going to kill them, they're okay with having sex in this situation.
Well, like in the original Stephen King,
Oh yeah, no, I know.
So about
I do know about
kids.
the weird sex stuff. I don't know where this shit comes from with him. To me, it's just
it's kind of it's weird.
It's weird.
Yeah, it just those kids having an orgy.
Yeah, I don't know. That is just odd to me.
Yeah.
So Randy thinks, hey, I'm gonna see if I can get a little something.
Yeah,
and then to me, he almost.
Almost rapey.
It's almost rapey, and it's like, and then going back to watch a lot of these 80s movies, dude, like there's a lot of that goes, hell, even The Blob, that remake of The Blob from it was that 88? I can't remember what year. 88. I mean, there's a scene where that happens
in the back seat, and she's passed out, and he's trying to mix her a drink.
Dude, a lot of that stuff was happening in 80s movies, and
Michael Hall in 16 Candles.
Yeah, dude. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Like, dude, and now looking back at those movies from us at this age, it's like, dude, that's not cool, and it's very uncomfortable. And when we were kids, we didn't really think about it. Like when we were teenagers watching this movie, I don't know. I'm not saying it was.
We were processing it with the kid brain.
Yes, and now we're processing at 50 something years old here, and it's like, oh hell no. There's no in hell any of that shit would be allowed these days.
No.
And so he starts, trying to, get a little some, and then the thing attaches to her face.
The side of her face.
The side of her face.
That you can't see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she basically gets.
And she's like, it burns.
It burns, yeah.
Yeah.
And so he takes this as the opportunity to jump into the water and swim to shore.
And I was thinking, and I was telling Lisa, I'm like, dude, if that thing's after you, swim faster.
Fuck, dude! I'm not looking back, dude. No. I am going like, I don't know, dude, as fast as I can.
And I'm thinking, I'm booking past that car. I'm still going,
dude. Absolutely, man. I'm not taking a chance. I'm getting a far away from the shallow part as humanly possible.
And this was really a tense scene because you see him. They had the camera, and there were some good shots in this movie. Like you were mentioning the silhouette of old Chief Woodenhead.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that they just had this pan of him swimming past the screen, and then you see the creature like moving towards him.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, that's crazy.
Tense.
Yeah,
it's very intense.
It
dude.
is.
And you're like, okay, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? And he gets to the shore.
And then he's like probably 3 feet away from the edge of the water, and he's like, I beat you. And then this thing like comes out of the water like a big blanket.
Yes, like a big blanket.
And then it just pulls him into the water. So it's on top of him and, apparently absorbing him too. Mm-hmm. And he was stupid. He could.
He got cocky.
But
he got too cocky.
The weird thing is I always thought about this. If he did survive and he did drive Deke's car back, how would he explain the disappearance of these 3 people?
I don't even know how you would explain that.
And then if you try to explain it to the police, this thing that sounds crazy. You know how all these horror movies always make you sound like you're insane.
For sure. Well, yeah, because when you and that's what always frustrates me in movies like this. Like when you're trying to explain something to someone, and it's always to some small town sheriff, and they think or a deputy.
Yeah.
Because there's always the sheriff, right?
Yeah.
That maybe if you explained it enough, maybe he gets on board. But the deputy always makes you feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
And always makes fun of you.
Like Extraterrestrial.
Dude, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, man. And hell, dude, like Slither, I can think of.
Yeah.
It's like it's always that kind of trope. It's almost become a trope where that is a thing. But I wouldn't if someone was explaining it to me, I'd think they're crazy.
Right.
And how else do you prove it unless you go out there and then but then you subject yourself to this thing if it's still there.
Oh yeah.
Or does this thing just move down the line? Does it move down to a different portion of this lake and it feeds on other stuff? I don't know, man.
Right.
Like how many people has this thing? How many ducks and has it absorbed? I don't know. But what I liked is it kind of pans into the forest area and there's a sign that's been basically overgrown by like trees and it says
no swimming.
No swimming.
And then we go back to our our comic book frame animation.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to notice about, or I was going to mention about this animation. I know you probably not super familiar with it, and I'm sure you've seen it once or twice. But the movie Heavy Metal, the animation movie.
Yeah, a little bit. I have seen Heavy Metal. Yeah.
So the animation reminds me of Heavy Metal.
It does a little bit.
And the Creep the character of the Creep reminds me of a Ray Bradbury story from Hanna-Barbera. Called The Halloween Tree.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a character in that movie called Mr. Mounshroud, who is voiced by Leonard Nimoy from, Star Trek fame.
Yeah, for sure.
So the character of Mounshroud and the Creep kind of look alike.
Okay.
But obviously this was in 87 and Halloween Tree I think is 82, 83. So maybe they borrowed from that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Because the way that he floats with the cape is similar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I just
I felt this is the thing that I was talking about, like how I felt the music didn't seem to fit for 87. Mm-hmm. And that animation, even though I love it, it didn't fit for 87. It felt
older.
Mm-hmm. And so I love them both.
Right.
And they fit, but if you were to sit and kind of analyze it, it feels more early 80s to me.
Early 80s or late 70s.
Yes, for sure, man.
Yeah.
So I think that animation is him riding his bike and he's trying to get away from the bullies.
Right.
And then, but I don't want to give away, like I always forget what part of the animation, I know when we get to the end of the animation.
Right.
I just don't remember. I know he rides his bike into it looks almost like a junkyard of some sorts.
Oh, yeah, we're not there yet. And then we cut back to the Creep.
Okay.
Yeah, and
okay.
he's like, young Billy looks like he's, a little tied up right now, so let's go to our next story of the Hitchhiker.
The Hitchhiker. Yeah. And this is a woman who is an older lady.
Yeah.
Who is
what's funny? She was a Bond girl from
was she?
From Moonraker, which came out in 79. So this movie was made in 87, and I've only seen her in a few movies. These being two movies that she is, and her name is Lois Childs. So she was the Bond girl of that movie. Dude, I thought she was a lot older. And not that she looks bad, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I thought she was a lot older in this movie.
Yeah.
Dude, she was only 40 when she made this movie.
So it must have been intentional then to make her
look older. They might have did something with makeup or something.
They had to have, man, because I think the whole idea of this was because she's essentially cheating on her husband with let's call him a gigolo, right?
Yeah, he's a gigolo.
He gets paid to have sex with.
He's Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, yeah. And so, obviously she's whatever she needs, she's not getting it from her husband.
Right.
We get the impression he's an attorney. That's right.
So
he's an attorney. Yeah, so they got money.
They have money. He's
and
rich.
she thinks she drives a Mercedes or whatever it is. And I think I don't know if they fall asleep and then the clock doesn't go off and she wakes up and she's like, oh shit, I gotta get home. I mean, he's gonna be suspicious, because he's never late.
Yeah.
Like I get the impression he's like this creature of habit guy.
Oh yeah.
Where he's by the book with everything. It's like he goes to work at this time and he probably eats lunch at this time and he gets home by this time and it's this and this.
Right.
I get this impression by the way she's painting a picture of him.
Yeah.
And she's like, shit. Now, she pays the guy. He of course bitches because he feels like
he should raise his prices.
He raised his price, because
it was only $150.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
$150?
And he goes, I counted at least 6 orgasms, but it could be more.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh wow, so you're gonna charge me by the orgasm?
And he's like, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. But she gets in her car, she gets dressed, gets in her car, and she's on her way home, and she's like, well, gosh, I gotta beat the clock. I only have 15 minutes to get home, and I got a long way to go. And then she's like mulling it over in her head. She's, hey, here, honey, it's only $150, and that's, that's, $25 an orgasm. You can't beat that deal. Yeah. And then she's like trying to mull over. Well, maybe I said I went to the movies with, or I went over and visited, so-and-so, which is like a couple. And she's like, no, I can't do that because we're going to see them on Saturday. And, they might say something. So.
And she's talking to herself.
Yeah.
A lot. Like running this through her head. Yeah. What excuse am I going to use if I don't get home on time?
And then she's like, well, maybe I went to go see a movie. And, the movie lasted too long. So, I'm doing this and doing that. And while she's doing that, she's not paying attention. And then she gets, and this happens, but she got, she overcorrected and then she went into a skid. And then she overcorrected again, and she's going around this bend, and lo and behold, she freaking hits this guy that's holding a sign, a hitchhiker.
Doesn't it say Dover on it?
Dover. Yeah.
Is that? We're to assume that's Delaware.
Maybe, but all of King's stories, and it seems like this too. It's always Maine.
It's always Maine. Okay, so Dover.
So it must be.
Is there a Dover, Maine?
Could be.
Could be a Dover, Maine.
Yeah.
Delaware and Maine are close to each other. So I just wonder if but yeah, all his stories do kind of tie into Maine, right? Yeah, to Maine.
Oh, there's
is there a Dover, Maine?
There's a Dover Foxcroft. It's a town in Maine.
Oh,
so maybe.
Yeah. I mean, so she hits him.
Yeah.
The idea is here she's killed him.
Yeah, she's killed him, and then she notices a car's coming, so she's like, she freaks out.
Yeah.
And doesn't stay. And she,
because how's she going to explain this, right?
Right.
So if I stay here, which is the right thing to do, because I've hit this guy, that's right. But then I need to get home because my husband's going to be home, and how do I explain where I've been?
Right.
So instead of doing the humane thing,
right,
and seeing if this guy is okay, and seeing if I can, maybe he's still alive, and I can rush him to the hospital.
Right.
She bails.
She does. So she's bailing and she's leaving. And this car drives up, and it's a BMW.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that'll come into play later.
So there's like guys like getting out of the car looking at the guy, and then a big truck driver comes up, and he's like, what the hell happened here, buddy? And of course, it's Stephen King's little cameo that he does in some of his movies. And, he's lighting, some road flares, to, have people like slow down and, because there's obviously an accident there. And then another couple drives up and, everyone's like getting out. Like, what happened? What happened? The guy got creamed.
He got fucking creamed or something like that.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
So Yeah, it's
and the one guy
King's
that's in the BMW, I think he has a car phone, doesn't he?
he does have a car phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He has a car phone
and
and-
calling the police.
Yeah.
So-
But she drives off, and of course she's freaking out.
She's freaking out, and she's like, that was the wrong thing to do. I shouldn't have done that. So this is a good story. It's a good story of guilt. The
Yes.
guilt's building up, and this is what I'm thinking, that this is all stemmed from her guilt, and guilt is basically what got her in the end. So yeah, she's driving off, and she's trying to, and she's going for a bit, maybe 5 minutes, and then she stops, and then she's like in the, why would she stop in the middle of the road? But she kind of does, and she's like mulling it over, and she's trying to catch her bearings, and she's talking to herself. And she notices in her rearview mirror, it's like, what the hell? There's a guy with the sign, and it's the same hitchhiker, but he's all bloodied, like he followed her.
Yeah.
Which is obviously not true, because he's there with those people,
Yeah.
So,
But she's imagining.
She's
this
imagining,
because again, her guilt has consumed her, so she's seeing
it in a rearview mirror, which is really creepy.
It is.
When
is.
you think about it. It's funny. So Damien Leone from Terrifier fame.
Oh yeah.
He used the same thing in the Terrifier short that was made for just nickels on the dime, or just
what you mean.
nickels
Yeah.
on the dollar.
Yeah, nickels on the dime. Nowadays, yeah.
Any two nickels on the dime. He did the same thing with Art the Clown in the rearview mirror, which I always thought was a creepy aesthetic. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of the hitchhiker from Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
So you see it, and there's no sound. He's like waving like a creepy, like, hey, and then she's like, what the hell? And then she's like blinks, and then she doesn't see him again, and then she's like trying to catch her bearings. She's like, you're losing your mind, chick. And
She
then-
always says Mrs. Lansing.
oh yeah, Mrs. Lansing.
Mrs. Lansing,
And then the jump scare right there at
Yeah.
the side of her window. He slams his hand. He's
Yeah,
like,
thanks
for the ride, lady.
Thanks for the ride, lady.
Thanks for the ride. Thanks for the ride, lady. And that's all he keeps saying over and over again.
Yeah, and it's not him as just a regular dude. It's him bloodied up and mangled.
Mangled, and we see him more mangled as the story goes on.
Yeah. It's I mean, as it goes on, it's like he just won't die. No matter what she does, no matter how far she drives, he's there.
Yeah.
No matter how many times she runs him over
He's hanging
hits him
on.
with the, he is just there.
Yeah.
And I think the message here, because we know he's not real, right?
Yeah.
It's the guilt is.
Guilt's a ghost.
No matter how far away you drive away from something, or you try to forget about something that you've done that is wrong, it's that guilt is going to consume you. It's going to follow you.
Oh, yeah.
It's always there with you. So if you've ever wronged someone and wronged someone really bad, you're never going to forget. It's always there. And eventually it's going to get you.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to get you in some way or another. I believe in karma.
Oh, yeah.
And
She was getting karma.
Karma comes around, man. Sooner than later, karma will get you.
Well, that's the whole theme of these Creepshow movies, because they're all about like the EC comics, duplicating that with these anthologies, and in each one of these stories, even like the stuff from Amicus that did Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror, all these anthologies from that era too. There's always the just desserts. People get their just desserts. Every story has somebody that gets what's coming to them.
Yep.
And that's with every story has a consequence.
Yeah.
So
especially especially every bad action, right?
Yeah.
You hit this guy, man. You left him for dead.
And he's like hanging on, and she hits him into a tree, and then she keeps slamming and running over him, and she slams him into the tree, and then her car's like fucked up.
Dude, it is tore up. I'm surprised it's even drivable at this point.
And so he's pinned against the tree, and then obviously she knocks out because you could see that her head,
maybe she concussed or something,
And then she wakes up, and there's like a a soft snow, like a just a dusting of a snow, like on her car and in the woods. Because this is actually like
it's still at night.
It's at night. It's in the woods, and she wakes up and there's like nothing against the tree. So obviously she didn't hit him. You know, she's like, she's thinking, well, you're nuts. You dreamt the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, what the hell's going on? So she, you know, obviously backs up and she's has to drive through this forest back to the trying to find the road, and her car's pretty banged the fuck up. You know?
Oh, dude, it's tore up.
And as she's driving, you don't. At first, I didn't see any blood. I'm like, okay, well, you know, obviously, I know how these stories end, but you know, maybe she did hallucinate the whole thing. But as she's pulling into her garage, it's like, oh shit, there's all that blood all over her car. It's like, of course, it did happen. Yeah. And then she gets out and she goes, you know, she's ready to, you know, she closed the garage door.
Well, but hold on a second. But the whole idea was for her to rush home before her husband.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then after all of this and she gets
like,
home, he's not even there.
Yeah, she's like, he's late.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I was thinking about this for that light dusting of snow. She had to have been there for hours.
Hours, man.
So I was always thinking about this too. It's like, so you find out that the guy that stopped in the BMW was her husband.
Yeah, yeah.
So was he like trying to take care of, you know, with all those other people for hours?
Maybe.
And go to the hospital?
It takes a while for, say, the cops to come. They have to do a statement, do a report. I don't know, you know. And so
it's been at least hours. So yeah, he's late, you know. So she's there, and what crawls from underneath the car is the guy, and he's all mangled. He's just like two fucked up eyeballs, and his you know, his jaw's all ripped off, and it's just a tongue, and he's you know, it kind of reminded me of the Father's Day, yeah,
in Creepshow, yeah,
because the voice is you know, mangled.
I love that voice, dude.
Oh yeah, and it's so cool. But you know what's funny is she's like screaming, you know, and she closes her door. But I told this to Lisa. I'm like, oh, look, shit, she closed her door. Did it like open her door? Because then he was right next to her, and he had his tongue next to her, and then he's like wrapping something around her neck. And then you see the garage door close, and then all this fog is in there. Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the fog too.
Yeah, for sure.
And the garage door closed. Then you see sometime later, you know, that's when you realize, oh, that guy in the BMW was the husband. So he drives up and he's like, what the hell? And he opens up the garage door and he sees her banged up, fucked up car. And then he looks at her, and then she has the Dover sign wrapped around her neck.
Yeah.
And she's obviously been choked.
Yeah.
So she's choked out, and that's how that ends.
Yeah. But see, that's okay. So if all of this was in her head, because I mean, you know, we know it wasn't the guy because he was
right,
whatever, you know. So what was, you know, I guess maybe it's not supposed to be explained. We're just supposed to kind of, I don't know.
Unless and the only thing I can think of is he's like a vengeful ghost. So, you know, even though he wasn't in physical form.
Yeah.
Physical form, the dead form was what all those people on the road were taking care of, and you know, his body, but his spiritual form was the vengeful ghost form was, you know,
it wouldn't explain the sign, but I'm okay with the sign.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
see,
whatever.
the thing is, I'm only saying it because we're talking about it.
Oh yeah, it's the Dover sign.
Yeah, but I don't really. To me, it doesn't bother me.
No,
I don't need all the explanation. No, I'm just,
that's the cool thing about movies. Too many people want stuff totally explained to them, like spoon-fed to them, and it's always good to just suspend belief and let your imagination kind of fill in the gaps.
I would say for the most part.
For the most part,
I agree. It depends on the type of movie. This type of movie, I don't need all the explanation or the back, whatever that is. I don't need all of that.
Like where the blob from the raft came from.
I don't need any of that. No, dude. It's
better to know that it was just something in nature.
Yeah,
that
totally fine. But if I'm talking about another movie, and I don't know what movie that would be,
right?
Give me a little more exposition. Give me a little more backstory. Give me something that I can. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
I don't like going into like it ends and then I'm like, what I'm puzzled.
Yeah,
What
the
about
fuck
this, and
happened
that?
here?
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, not to dive into, but that's what a lot of the stories in Cabin of Curiosities.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I still want to check it out.
I would say check it out, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone.
Yeah.
I left a lot of the stories going, huh? What?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was a lot of the stories were super disappointing for me.
Right.
But we don't need to talk about that.
No, that's cool.
Finish off Creepshow 2 in the animation.
Okay, so we're left in that kind of like a empty lot, It's like an abandoned like
it almost looked like a junkyard to me or something
Junkyard,
where
yeah.
you have only one, there's only one way in.
Yeah, and it's kind of like so young Billy came up to like a dead end, and then the creeps, kind of cornered him.
The bullies, yeah.
And then, they're getting out, and then, Billy's like explain. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna rock you," and the big fat bully's like slapping his his fist into his hand, like, "I'm gonna knock you out," and Billy's like laughing, kind of, like, "Oh no, I got, those bulbs that I had were." Large man-eating Venus flytraps, and then you see the animation come out, and it's it's cheesy.
It's cheesy, but I love it.
But
it's awesome.
these things are like gobbling up these kids.
Yeah. And then it goes to get the last bully, which is the leader, the big guy, and he's he's big dude. Like you could tell he's fatter, but he's strong.
Yeah.
And when the Venus flytrap goes to eat him, he's fighting it. Like he's got his hands up in the mouth and he's trying to hold it off.
Yeah.
And then it
kind of pry its mouth open.
Yeah. And then it finally gets him, and then it eats him, and then spits out one of his boots. And,
Yeah.
That
was awesome.
Yeah. And I don't know, man. The thing is, what is the animation cheesy? Yeah, but it's good cheesy.
It works for this film.
It works for this film.
Yeah.
Would it work for other stuff? Well, probably not.
No.
But for this, I really liked it. It just fit for me, as well as the music.
Where the original Creepshow is a great modern. When I say modern, it's obviously it's 40 years old almost now, or it is 40 years old. Classic. This one's not as good, but it's still good enough to be called Creepshow 2, like a solid sequel. Years later they made a Creepshow 3, which was just garbage. And
I never watched it because you said it was a piece of crap.
I watched parts of it on YouTube because I didn't want to, I just wanted to, if I didn't want to watch any more of it, I can just flip over to another video on YouTube due to obviously it was made on the cheap. I get that, people were doing with what they were working with. And the rights were with the company called Taurus Entertainment. And they also did like a sequel to Day of the Dead, which is terrible.
Oh,
So they have these rights, and they decided to keep these rights. They want to make sequels to some of these stories or some of these IPs, And Creepshow 2, a lot of people, a lot of horror aficionados don't consider it as like a true sequel. It's just like Creepshow 1, Creepshow 2, Tales from the Dark Side is Creepshow 3.
Yeah.
Because it was made with more of a budget and obviously with some of, King's stories too. So, it's kind of the unofficial Creepshow 3.
Dude, I have no issue with Creepshow 2 at all. Like I feel that it's a good continuation of the first film.
Yeah.
I didn't need, I thought three stories were fine. I guess if they threw another story or two in there, it'd be okay. But I'm not missing any stories in it because this is a good solid 90 minutes. I enjoy every one of the stories. I think they're all well done. The one thing I will say, not about the movie itself, but as, I know they're doing a television show these days for Creepshow, and I think you and I both gave it a shot, and it just, for me, it was super cheap. It was super cheap. It was bad.
Which is crazy because it's Greg Nicotero's like one of the producers. And I know he has a love for the movies.
It was, dude, I tried. I gave it, I think, I don't know if I got through all of season 1, but they were just, the stories were bad. The acting was bad. The effects were bad. It was just, I hate to keep saying bad, but it was bad. And I have not revisited. I know they got a couple other seasons, but it left such a sour taste in my mouth. I'm like, ugh. Like I don't know if it was one of those situations where they just didn't have a lot of money and they did what they could, and then the idea was if it catches on, then maybe we can get some more money from whoever was, I don't know, whatever studio was doing it at the time. I don't know if this was a Shudder thing, and I haven't revisited it. So I still hold Creepshow 1 and 2 dear to my heart. I love both of these films.
Right. You know what I always thought was odd is I know Tom Savini did the effects of Creepshow 1, the first Creepshow, and the fact that K&B did the effects of Creepshow 2. I've never heard a story whether or not he was ever offered to do the effects of part 2, but for him to do a cameo that he's not even using his voice, I know. As with the creep makeup, that he had on.
Well, what I had read was someone else was supposed to play the creep again, and I didn't read Nicolas Cage,
right?
But I did read that someone else was supposed to play it, and they backed out, and so maybe it was just a last minute thing. I wonder if he was just so busy at that time doing other movies that he had enough time to do a cameo,
right?
But didn't have time to do all the makeup or all the special effects and stuff. You know?
Maybe.
But I mean, I still think the special effects are great.
Oh yeah,
they're great. They're honestly, dude.
It's K&B. So,
I mean, so yeah, I have no gripes about the effects on this.
Yeah.
So, but that's Creepshow 2, folks.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, man?
No, nothing I can really think of. I think we touched on all the points we really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah, definitely. I would say if someone decided if someone hadn't seen the movie, you'd seen Creepshow 1. And you hadn't seen Creepshow 2 yet, and you decided to listen to us before you saw Creepshow 2, I'm hoping that you will, turn us off and go check it out, because I think you really will enjoy it. Like, this is a great horror movie.
Right.
And, so other than that, man, well, thanks for coming out, dude. I always appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I guess everyone, take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
You listened all the way to the end. We appreciate that. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Ear for Fear Podcast, Twitter at Ear for Fear, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ear for Fear Podcast. You can also check out our website, earforfear.com. There we list news and events. We're available on all the main platforms, so make sure you tell a friend. We hope you come back and get an earful.